Okay, have you heard the one where I jumped out of a plane for my friend Bob? All right, so Bob was my teenage friend. I had met him actually at a party. I was with the boyfriend that I sued a priest and we were together, that guy. We were at a party and I had to have been about 16, 17 around that. No, yeah, 15, 16, 16. And there was Bob. So we were punk rock, remember the belt? Punk rock. I mean, with my daddy issues and like the mistrust of establishment, it made sense. So a lot of these characters were, very hard and rough and tough, whatever, or so they claimed. This guy, Bob, was different. He was straight edge. So, straight edge back then, I don't know if they do that anymore, but no drinking, no cursing, no eating meat, no drugs, definitely not, no smoking cigarettes. He didn't do any of that. He was very chill and he had green hair, and I was like, this guy's amazing. When he first met my mom, he came through my window. So he didn't come through the front door. He came through my window and came out my bedroom and met my mom with this like larger than life personality, green hair, and my mom adored him. He had this light in his eyes. So when he looked at you, you just felt like you were important. And he was very special. We never had a romantic relationship. We never, even kissed. We were like brother and sister. Even like when I went to ballet school in New York City and Joffrey, and he actually just like left and came to visit with a friend of his. I mean, he kind of messed up my living arrangements by like tagging Bob Wire, that's what he called himself. Bob Wire was here, like all over the girls' bathroom. Not cool. He would do stuff like that. Like he would not really think of consequences very much. When I got to be about 17, he wanted to backpack across Europe. I do believe that this was like a pivotal step in like I chose not to go, and I think about it a lot of like where would that have left, like where would that have led me, like where would my life be if I chose to go on this like 3 month tour across Europe with Bob. I didn't go. I decided to get my own apartment instead. He got a girlfriend and got into drugs. I moved to New York. He moved to New York. He took the girl with him. I got him an apartment, like from my landlord. They painted the whole place black. Didn't pay their rent. They were they were losing. They were losing hardcore. And he changed his name to Gray Matter. And my mom died. And I think that hit him very, very hard. We, I saw him decline even more with drugs. When I bought my first condo, he came to visit me and he started yelling at I don't know, yelling at my neighbors. And I'm like, Bob, you can't act like this. You can't do this. Like, I'm trying to start my new life. I'm trying to start just a better life for myself. I don't want consistent, like, chaos anymore. And he's like, well, if I leave, this is it. I mean, he was drunk. He was drunk. And I said, all right, leave. It's over. And we kind of like broke that friendship right there and then. And he didn't come to my wedding. We didn't speak. And I don't even know how we got back in contact with each other, but we did. I went to visit him in Brooklyn. And this was the first time I saw that there was no more light behind his eyes. He wasn't there anymore. He was sad, beat up. He fell in love with a girl, and I think he wanted so much for this to work that if she would just love him, it would fix everything. And it didn't. It didn't help anything. I met her. She was very sweet. She was very French, and he came to Asbury Park and visited me with her, and met my husband. And then that was the last time I saw him. I talked to him on the phone a few times, trying to help him win the girl back. But I got notice from his mother that he had passed away. And of course, they said, it was dehydration from work or what have you. And I believed it in the beginning. I think having alcohol and drugs constantly within my life, you see the symptoms of that, and you see the effects of that. So, how did I jump out of a freaking plane? He did this often. Like, he lived there pretty much, like would jump out of planes constantly. That was his personality, no regrets, no consequences. And so his family said, let's do this in honor of Bob. And we're gonna take his ashes and we're gonna spread them out while parachuting. And funny noted piece of information is that when they were going through his apartment after he passed, they found the ashes of my mother. I gave that to Bob to do art with. He was an artist, he would paint, and he wanted to make this memorial piece about my mother with her ashes within the paint. And I don't know how they realized that this bag of ashes was my mother's, but they figured it out and they gave it back to me. So we went one fall day up to New York to jump out of planes. And it was his family and a couple of his friends. Most of his friends already worked there. And I think this was after Max had been born, so my husband was not too pleased. And I was scared to death. I have a fear of heights. I did not want to do this. This was not my idea of fun. But I'm like, I'll just go there and we'll see. So I'm driving however many hours to get to this place. And I'm like, Bob, this is when I prayed to dead people. Bob, if you want me to do this, you better make it freaking easy for me. And the song immediately came onto the radio called Carry On. And when you listen to the words, it was very inspiring. And I said, all right, one more step, one more step, one more step. And I got there. And then they pair you off, and I'm just going with the flow. I'm like, I'm not deciding anything yet. They pair you off with instructors. And I'm like, again, Bob, you better make this freaking easy for me. And he did. God did. The gentleman I was paired up with was not one of those like jerks, like, oh, I wonder if the parachute is going to open, or blah, blah, blah. He wasn't like one of those. He was like legit helpful and talking me through every step. We get into the plane, we're going up, and they're telling you, like, this is how many feet, this is how many feet. And I'm still freaking out, like in denial, like, I'm not going to do this. And he's like, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. And I'm like, I see it's freaking mom suited up to do this. She's jumping out of a plane. I gotta do this. I'm sorry. So I have his ashes in a little Ziploc, and I am strapped to a stranger. And I'm like, you're going to have to push me out of this freaking plane because I'm not going to jump. I won't do it. And I closed my eyes. And all of a sudden, we're in the air. And it feels like you've jumped into cold water. And the water is just spraying on you because it's just so cold. And the air is coming so fast, you can't comprehend what's happening. And about the time you get a little bit used to that, you get jolted up into the sky because of the parachute has been now lifted. It lifts you up. And you don't really recognize how high you are. And it's beautiful. It's the most peaceful sound you'll ever hear. I'm never doing it again, guaranteed. But the cathartic, emotional response that I had up in the air strapped to a stranger was intense. I mourned my mom, I mourned Bob, and I let the ashes just go. And I'm seeing like his family out in the distance in the air, and it's like the most amazing memorial that you could ever do. And I'm glad I did it. Scared crapless, but I'm glad I did it. And I know that he was somehow in my life for this healing, to watch my journey go from a rebellious child to a wife and a mother. And I wish you were here to witness it, like my mother, which is another story. But I think his peace has been found. I hope his peace has been found.